So the next class will be interiors, which I'm excited about. This is the most famous probably interior. This is Van Gogh's bedroom in Arles. What's interesting is he did 3 different versions of this. And with obviously really contrasting colors like we've studied and simultaneous contrast. But really he just wanted to depict a room. He wanted to show his restfulness and his tranquility of his room. And the reason I'm showing this is it's such a great example of perspective, color, and mood, all the things that you can do when you do an interior that I love. Previous to Van Gogh, though, I mean, it was pretty serious stuff when they did interiors. It was grand, it was depicting wealth, and then it was followed by later some like really depressing, grim, kind of moody, depicting like artist studios and like really kind of commonplace. Until then, we had people like Frida Kahlo who did this, which I do consider an interior because it's in the house, and then people like Matisse, who kind of started inserting like symbolism, fragments of their life, fragments of American life, kind of going beyond just depicting things and really either telling us stories or really making like socioeconomic statements. All sorts of things are capable with interiors, everyday life. And that's why it's one of my favorite things to look at, and I think it's going to be a really great thing for us to paint, because I think you will be able to go pretty deep with this as far as exploring color, exploring mood, and really thinking about like what kind of space you're going to depict. And a lot of interiors is deciding what to leave out, So the first thing we're going to look at is the idea of how easily you can insert mood. This is Bernard, and one of my favorite painters. And it's like a sense, so many different senses are here of, even if you insert just a hint of a person in your interior, same with Louise Dowd. I think she's always looking out at the world through her windows when she does an interior, which creates a real mood of isolation and contemplation and sadness sometimes. Loneliness. This is her real bedroom. I just put that in there because it's cool. Perspective is another thing that's great to experiment. This is Hockney. You can really play with space, and like when you're thinking of how you want to do your interior, you don't have to stick by what you really see. Shara Hughes, who's been, but she's very much like Hockney. She also plays with space and pattern and color in a really great way. But the original was Picasso. He did a ton of series of his later in life studio, which are some of my favorite of his paintings. And again, playing with space and perspective and mood. Roy Lichtenstein did pop art versions of this, which could be some fun. Some of you might think that was really awesome to experiment with. And then the next is color. It's a really great way to use really basic color schemes or really bold color schemes or monochromatic. This is Karen Klimenik. These are so beautiful in her traditionally evocative style and color patterns. So she's very monochromatic always, and this is another great way to experiment with that. So you don't have to depict the colors you see. You can definitely play around with that. And Matisse obviously played with pattern and color to make these bold, evocative. I don't think that last one was a Matisse. Myra Coleman, who is, I guess, considered more of an illustrator, but I think her paintings are fantastic. Again, these bold color and playing with that to evoke all sorts of moods. And then you can use it as a storytelling tool. This is Alice Neal. I mean, you learn a lot by looking at this picture of a chicken in the sink. There's a lot of storytelling that can go in by what you choose to put into your scene and what you choose to remove. Fairfield Porter, same, that's his house, which I love. A lot of storytelling. We know a lot about these people and their lives and their, wealth, and that they're probably by the ocean, by the light. I mean, there's a lot, and they're social because there's card tables. There's a lot of choices you can make when you're doing your interior. This is a contemporary artist, Becky says. Again, she inserts information to tell us about the people that live there. Mood. Did I already do mood? Anyway, Voulard, which is, I think you probably already know, one of my all-time favorite paintings. And there are people in this. It doesn't mean just because we're doing interior you can't have people, but I want the focus to be on what the space you're creating is going to tell us about what your mood is, what the people that live there are like. And then next week we're going to follow this up with part 2 by thinking of symbolism. What can we insert into, what objects can we put in to tell more of a story and give us more of like a background about society or ourselves. And these are two contemporary painters who just do that amazingly well. So I'm excited to do this tomorrow, and I'm equally excited for part 2, which will be in 2 weeks, about symbolism. So see you tomorrow. Bye.